Page 408, Part 47. Cognition of truth is real, and every human being, regardless of whatever and whoever he or she may be, can, under self-created, suitable circumstances, and with the correct use of the nature of the consciousness and the might of the thoughts, bring to fruition everything which is capable of evolution, and thus find in himself or herself the imperishable, as well as the harmony, and that which is pure. The wonderful thing about that is that it does not concern anything strange or fantastic, and is not determined only for selected human beings, rather for each individual of the entire humanity, who wants to bring the nature of his or her consciousness and of his or her inner self to fruition, according to the ego which is aligned with one's innermost nature. The recognition, by means of the consciousness, of the spiritual truth is nothing complicated, sectarian, religious, or esoteric, because it is truly a profound, healthy, and positive knowledge which can be rationally recognized and created through the material consciousness's pure understanding. If, by means of rationality and intelligence, the human being recognizes in his or her consciousness the real nature of the spirit and its laws and recommendations, then the consciousness-based layers of confusion and unknowledge fall away, whereby the blindness and imperiousness and self-praise come to an end. To be a knowing, recognizing, and wise human being does not mean to be a kind of almighty, imperious, and boastful superhuman being. Rather, it means to be an effectively true human being. Part 48. Often that which the human being takes to be love is nothing more than just attachment, binding, or dependency, and that which, in this form, is erroneously taken to be love, only ever leaves behind wounds and scars. Even in many good relationships, in which hints of real love perhaps exist, everything is so clouded by attachment, binding, and dependency, and by all their uncertainties, as well as by possessive thoughts and pride, that the tender hints of real love fade away again, or can never correctly come to the fore. And if this form of love really also comes to an end one day, then from that also arise painful wounds, and finally scars, which cause pain and hurt again and again. Real love is only noticed by many human beings when the loss of the partner threatens as a result of death or other circumstances, and this is then the moment when one clings tight to one's partner and would take the inner freedom from him or her. But this does not lead to really gaining one's partner for oneself, because, truthfully, he or she thereby slips away even more, and the relationship, which only existed in a fragile form, finally breaks apart. Thus the kind of wanting to be happy which one attempts to achieve very often becomes the clumsiness and ineptness of those human beings who still attempt to save the relationship. However, as a rule, nothing, or nothing fundamental, is thereby changed. Quite the contrary. One only subjects oneself to even more problems than already otherwise existed. The human being acts thus, in this wrong form, because he or she holds the usual belief that he or she can still save everything when it is already absolutely certain that everything is really already irretrievably lost. Only once the human being sees that really nothing more can be saved of that which is lost to him or her, does he or she become clear about the loss. And that is the reason which motivates him or her to believe that he or she would just have to knuckle down in order to still get that which he or she wants, and to get that from which he or she expects to get happiness, But exactly that is an impossibility, because when something is actually lost and cannot be brought back again, then it can also never be enjoyed, because it is not in the human being's possession, certainly not any love, nor a human being. Part 49. The spiritual teaching teaches that everything negative also has a positive, and every bad, wrong, and unhealthy act or deed also has a good, correct, and healthy one. This is the law of making errors, from which that which is progressive and right arises as a result of analysis and recognition. Therefore, every single error is reason for the hope that, from it, something good, effective, positive, healthy, correct, and evolutive can be gained. Even the most hard-bitten, wrong-living ones, pessimists, negativists, and criminals, and so forth, can therefore change to something better and progressive when they are accorded the necessary knowledge for that, and the possibility for that is offered to them. They can actually change and overcome their old and wrong conditioning. And exactly that is a reason why every wrong-acting human being, murderers being no exception, must be given the chance to resolve their errors and to evolutively change, so that they can analyze, change, and positively resolve everything which had driven them to their wrong actions. But if the human being is not given this chance, for example, when the fallible one is condemned to the death and executed, then this means that the fallible one is not only impeded in his or her resolution of the errors made, and in the evolution, and that these are destroyed for him or her, rather that he or she is quite consciously and vengefully murdered. The human being today is developed to such an extent in his or her intelligence and in his or her rationality that he or she is able to process and understand this fact. But when out of imperiousness and vengefulness and so forth, he or she does not do this, then through the promoting and supporting, as well as the carrying out of the death penalty of murder, he or she makes himself or herself just as guilty as the one who was executed for that crime. The human being today is developed to such an extent that, with the present circumstances of all kinds, he or she can, when he or she applies himself or herself to them conscientiously as well as with skill, knowledge, and wisdom, free himself or herself from these bonds of guilt induction and bonds of unending suffering in regard to life. For that one requires only clear, rational, really human, and creationally correct contemplation and actions. Part 50. The human being of the earth needs neither wars nor religions. Rather, most urgently, active human beings of peace and of freedom, as well as human beings who know the creational laws and recommendations and teach them to the humanity. They must be human beings who are equipped with the, quote, armament of patience, and who carry in themselves the vision of the true freedom and of the effective peace, as well as the love and joy and the equalized harmony, and who, in lived practical experience and in wisdom, spread their knowledge and reveal to the human beings all those creationally formed necessities which the human being must follow and fulfill for a correct and righteous life. The earth human being needs truthfully spiritual leaders who are knowledgeably skilled in every level of development and can be instructive in every stratum of society as conscious representatives of the creational natural truth, in feelings for others, joy, love, freedom, harmony, and wisdom, so that humanity becomes knowledgeable and obliging in every respect in regard to evolution, in the certainty that the life is only thereby lived and used in accord with creation. That is what is necessary for the human being to keep in view, and to imprint into himself or herself, in order to work untiringly for his or her evolutive progress, and for the preservation of the world and all its manifold life forms, and for the future. But, to this end, knowledge and wisdom, true, fine, spiritual, perceptual love, which comes from the spirit realm, as well as joy, inner and outer freedom and peace, are just as necessary as are an equalized harmony and a hope, which is never able to dwindle away. For the life, one day, of a purely spiritual, energetic nature in the all-great, timely being of the creation, and one day in the absolute absolutum. Thanks for watching.